one simple change. One simple change is the only thing stopping you from starting that new chapter in your life, from starting you and making you become the better version of yourself, right? I think most people get so caught up in the future. They get so caught up in like this idea of the life they want, and then they want to change instantly, right? They want to get it done as fast as they possibly can, and that is great and all. And if you can do that, good for you. But sometimes if you are one of those people, which most of us are, where a lot of change all at once can actually do more harm than good, it's okay to just start slow and start simple. You don't need to make it super complex. You don't need to make it super confusing. You can take it slow and simple, right? The reason why I say is because it's better to start out slow and simple and in the end be further ahead than what you were 2 years ago than doing everything all at once and then getting so worked up because we're trying to keep up with our own expectations that we end up giving up naturally. You know, you might sit there and be like, well, I'd never give up. But at the same time, there's going to be days where you're like, oh, I really don't want to do this today. There's just so much stuff I have to do. And then you don't do it. And then the next day you're like, it's only one more day. And then it keeps stacking until eventually it's been 3 months since you needed to do the thing you wanted to do, right? Okay, so let's take the gym, for example. If you are somebody who is just getting into it and you overwork yourself with all these new workouts, you know, all these new workout plans, all this stuff, and you throw it all at yourself. So you're doing 2-hour-long workouts when you first start. You're doing that for a week. You feel good, but at the same time, it gets exhausting. It gets confusing. You're trying to shove all this information in your head all at once instead of taking it slow. Well, then eventually that will lead into a day where you're like, you know what? I don't want to do it today. I'll do it tomorrow. And the next day comes, you're like, I don't want to do it today either. And like I said, the next thing you know, it's been 3 months since you've hit the gym and you kind of gave up on it. And then you move your focus on to other things that are less meaningful than the gym to you or whatever. So that's a perfect example of how shoving yourself full of information to something new can kind of actually hurt you more than if you just start out slow. Like a perfect example to that would be simply doing something like jogging for 5 minutes a day to get active might do you more good than throwing a 2-hour workout you first day of. And then maybe throwing an hour workout to you first day of is good for you and that keeps you in check compared to doing a 5-minute jog, because maybe a 5-minute jog doesn't cut it for you. It's not what you're into, right? It gets you boring or you get bored or whatever. So it's different for everybody. But if you're getting this like rut where like you're throwing too much stuff at yourself, you're changing too much at once to where it's actually hurting you more than it's helping you, and you realize that, you gotta be able to admit it and then change the change, you know, reduce the amount you're doing and take it slow. That way you can keep it for the long run. When I first got into working out, I didn't have the gym. I didn't have weights. I literally would just look up YouTube videos and I would do those boxing workouts like with Ryan Garcia. There was like this 1 hour long Instagram live stream he had that he posted up on YouTube, and I would do that like, you know, every day. That's how I got into the gym, and then eventually it led into weights and stuff. And I'm not saying you have to have the same exact route to the gym or whatever else that you're doing in life as me. I'm just saying that's something like that. It was so simple, right? He's guiding you through the whole thing, and that's what kept me, you know, sane. It was simple. It was like, okay, I watch this video, I do what he does, that's it. There's no confusing, you know, thinking about sets and reps and progressive overload and how I have to do it this way and make sure it's this form. No, it's simple, just like jumping up and down, doing push-ups, stuff like that. Simple stuff. So, and this applies to anything in life. It doesn't really matter what it is. Even if it's something like, you know, traveling. You don't need to travel to a whole different country for your first trip. You can do something as simple as maybe going to the other state over, or I mean, I don't know how it is in other countries if you live in a different country, but in the US we have states, obviously, you know. Maybe something as simple as that, going to the state over. You know, it's still a change, it's still far away, but it's a much more simple than if I was to go across the whole entire world. So simple changes is what gets us in the rhythm to lead to bigger changes and lead to the better versions of ourselves. And I'm not gonna lie, there are people out there that can do the super massive change all at once and they're good to go. And if you are that person, then good for you. But even if you are that person, everybody has their limit, right? So when you hit that limit, you just have to realize that you don't need to get scared away. You just got to reduce the amount you're doing. Just keep it simple. Don't confuse yourself, because that's what shies us away from change. Don't get scared. You know, just make it simple. Just take it slow. Make it simple, and that's gonna be a much better thing for you than if you were to jump in all at once, right? And what I mean by that is, I mean, like, if I, like I said with the gym, if I was just to throw in these 2-hour workouts instead of just keeping it simple at first, I wouldn't be where I am today. I would have quit, and I did quit actually a few times when I got into lifting, because I just kind of, you know, I'd get bored. I would change too much at once, and I would kind of just shy myself away from that kind of thing. And when I realized what I was doing, I took a more simple approach, and that's what kind of, I guess, kept me in check. But that's the thing. One simple change, you don't notice it either. One simple change can change your entire life. You could be one conversation away from having your life partner or lifelong best friend. You could be one workout away from having your dream body. You could be one video on social media away from hitting that, you know, viral video that gets 10 million views. You don't know when this stuff's gonna happen. It all comes down to just taking one simple change in your day to make those things happen, right? That's why I'm saying it's the simple stuff that stacks up over time, and those little small simple changes that you make lead into the very big changes, right? But yeah, so don't if you notice yourself getting too worked up to the point where you feel like quitting and giving up, just don't give up, don't quit. Just take a step back and keep it simple. Take it slow. Don't feel like you have to have the need to have to change it so fast. You know, you have to be so quick to change. You can't. If you don't get this goal in this certain time frame, that it's over and you should just give up and be done. No, you shouldn't have that mindset. Because even if you do fail, like, if your goal is to have abs by the next month and you don't get to that point, it doesn't mean you didn't grow or get more fit. It just means you simply didn't get that particular goal. But what would happen if you did it for an extra 2 or 3 months? Well, now you could have abs by that point. So you can't get scared away when you don't reach these goals that you set for yourself, especially when sometimes they're way too high, and then use that as a way to give up. So just because you don't reach your goals either, you know, because you make these super high expectations because you want to change super fast, you want to change super drastic, and you think that you're going to get abs in a week, it doesn't happen. I mean, I guess it all depends on how lean you are, but for most people, that don't happen. That doesn't happen. And if that doesn't happen for you, does that mean you should just get up and walk away and stop trying to be active and fit? No, you should still take the chance and keep changing and growing for the better. Just don't let these little things, you know, keep you down. Don't put yourself down from your own expectations. Because yes, you want a better life, that's great. You're already ahead of most people. You want to change for the better, that's great. You're already ahead of most people. But sometimes we get carried away, and we get these super high expectations for ourselves in such a short amount of time, to the point where it is kind of unrealistic. Like I said, some people think, you know, you'll go on video or on YouTube and you'll see videos that say you get abs in 1 week, and you know that's bullshit. That is not true. For some people it is, because they're already so lean that just a little bit of muscle growth or activity is going to help. But for the majority of people, that's not how it is. So don't get so carried away with your own unrealistic expectations. Don't get so don't put yourself down because you're trying to change so much at once. Just keep it simple and take it slow. And if you can change super fast all at once, good for you. I'm not telling you to stop that. I'm saying, if you can change as much as you possibly can for the better in the shortest amount of time, that is good. But if you do realize yourself getting too worked up over it because you're not hitting these little goals, because that's what ultimately gets us to stop changing for the better. Don't let that be a reason you give up. You have to be able to see it before you do end up giving up. Just notice that that's what you're doing, and then change what you're doing, right? Lower the expectation a little bit. Give yourself some more time for growth. Take it slower. Be more simple. Still work twice as hard as you were the day before, but just don't get so carried away in these high expectations for yourself. They're good. It's good to have high expectations, but if I said I want abs in a year, that's more realistic than if I said I want abs in one day. That's what I'm saying. So when you have these super expectations for a greater life for you, that's amazing. But don't give up because you don't reach your own super high expectations. And if you do reach those super high expectations you give to yourself, that's good for you. Keep going, keep doing your thing. I'm not putting you down either. If you put up a high expectation, somehow you did get abs in one day, good for you, and keep setting those high expectations because that is a blessing in disguise. But don't give up because you can't meet your own expectations. I know I've said that same word 50 times now, but you get my point. Take it slow, be simple. You don't need to change so much at once. Don't get so worked up because you're not changing so much at once. You know your limits. That's basically what I'm saying. You know your limits. You know how much you can handle. And if you're honest with yourself. So it's good to go by that. And then change for the better, become the better version of yourself. Remember that God is always in your life. So if you are ever in a hard time, just talk to him. There's nothing wrong with talking to your Savior, There's nothing wrong with talking to your Father. So I wish the best for you, though, I really do. Remember that one simple change is all you need to the next chapter, the best version of yourself. All this stuff, all these little, small, simple changes that you don't really notice sometimes can be the biggest change. Like I said, you could be one conversation away from your life partner. You could be one workout away from your dream body. You could be one video away from being viral. You could be one marketing ad or one ad away from being a millionaire for your business or whatever. You don't know what's going to happen until you make that simple change. So it's most of the time, it's the little things that create the biggest difference. So, yeah. But as always, I wish the best for you. I really do. And take it slow. Keep it simple. Never give up. And remember, as always, life isn't too short to make a change.